All right, I am back on Mondays and trying to work on Simplytest Me again. For those of you who tuned in over like the summer and a few things like that, I spent my Mondays working on Simplytest Me, which Simplytest Me is, if I have the right browser tab open, Simplytest Me is a way to spin up sandbox sites for Drupal environments. And we've got a few bugs and we have a few things to work on. Um, It's one that it's a project that was started back in like the Drupal 6 days, I believe. Adam Bergstein has given some really great talks on it, but I'm trying to make a comeback on working on this because we do have several bugs and we're also hitting the Drupal 10 readiness time. And Simply Test Me is a great asset for testing projects without downloading it locally. So I want to get this cleaned up. There's two things I want to focus on. I'm only going to do my stream for an hour. Usually I do 2 hours, but I started a little bit late today as I get back into the swing of things. One is we do have Cypress tests for end-to-end testing of our React code. Those are dated probably, but they don't run in GitHub Actions. So I like to get that going and also just consolidate code. The code was taken from the Drupal 6 or the Drupal 7 version of it, where it was like a module for everything. And I'd like to consolidate this import into just the projects module. Import imports projects. So let's consolidate and make things a little bit easier to maintain. I haven't used it in a while, so I still have a composer install running my local machine, but I should be able to go ahead and copy this issue fork because it's installed the Simplytest profile. Go ahead and check out this branch and we can get off to the races. So this import fetches data from Drupal.org and importing the project automatically, which I'm pretty sure if we look here, insert cron. Okay, so cron only does the version manager. I thought we were importing projects as well here in some way or form, but now we can put this all together. Yeah, there's like this project fetcher that fetches it from over there, then the importer. This just makes it easier to understand all the code that we have going on instead of it being like in this case, 2 different places. So let's go ahead. We'll do a quick audit. So info.yaml. The links goes to import config route. Route name. It's in 2 places. Oh, wait. Administer Simplytest settings. Import config. Oh, all right. Well, let's go to this routing. And we're going to copy this out and put it into projects. So let's go ahead, copy this over. New projects, we'll call it import. Keys. Projects, import form. So we get admin config, Simplytest import. And this actually imports like everything at once. So it'd be good to just fix this period. Config services, Simplytest config. This should actually go into the install profile because it sets up a Simplytest page underneath Simplytest projects. And you can do that with your profiles. At least I'm pretty sure. So let me go ahead and make a new file. Do simply test dot routing dot YAML. This is gonna, yes, I want to add. All right, it's struggling a little bit because it's re-indexing everything after I just did the composer install, and while it's still copying over files for Drupal core. I have PHP 8.1 on my host. Simplytest Me still uses PHP 7.4, so I had to do composer install inside a Docker container on Mac OS, which means it's going to take a while. I also want to get this up to PHP 8.1 as well. So let's call this Simplytest config. So go underneath admin config services. This is the system admin link block. Great. Let's move that there, which allows us to have this form and kill off this file. Next, let's go back to this links. So this config goes to that Simplytest import config, which I moved into simplytest routing.yaml. So let's make a new file called simplytest.links.menu.yaml. And that route name config import format. Let's go here, paste it in, and title simplytest. Route name should be simplytest.config, which we have there. All right, so those two are added. Now, this menu we want to add to the projects, which we already have here. So let's paste it. So it's simplytest projects. I don't know if it needs to be underscored. Period's probably fine, but we'll probably do projects import. And this goes to our import route we just created for the form. Parent is simplytest.config. And here. Now, I'm doing this without having verified a few things, but I know where this needs to end up from having used it. So let's just start here. Oh my goodness, it's still at 78%. Like, you gotta be kidding me. So if we do simplytest.ddev.site, oh, it's been so long that's no longer in my history. Hold on, I think I have it as simplytestme.ddev.site. There we go. Oh, because the autoloader hasn't dumped yet. I have this weird problem when running Composer in the container. All right, let's kill the indexing. Updated Drupal core failed. Yeah, okay. Just let's close, open a new tab. I like to rename my sessions too. So like in this, it's the web. Let's do Composer, update, Composer install, ignore platform recs. So again, I have PHP 8.1 and this wants PHP 7.4, but doing ignore platform recs and ignore platform recs lets me install anyways, ignoring the platform requirements. Because I know inside the container, everything's good. All right, so that's upgrading. It should be dumping the autoload files now. Oh no. All right. I forgot we have a post hook to do npm install. So we'll let that run. And now the site should be working because we have the autoloader. Come on. We got to update a bunch of our dependencies too. Come on. Here we go. All right, so let's go ahead, and I haven't reinstalled this thing in forever. So I'm going to assume that I can still log in locally with the whole admin/admin. I hope. Yes. No. Let's do ddev drush ULI. I probably did a site install and didn't specify the username. I'm going to pop this up so I can keep an eye on what's being indexed to see if it starts to loop over itself. Again, I haven't opened this project in like 3 months. So it indexed itself. And then I did Composer install. So it indexed more. That's I know like some people are like, oh, PHP Storm's slow. Like that's why, because it indexes all your stuff. And I haven't opened this project in forever, so it's doing like a really big, relearning process. So, and let's do no, things look kind of goofy. So let's just do a ddev drush cr. Actually, updb, because Drupal core got upgraded in the background and my database is probably out of date. Oh no. All right, great. So the front end built. Awesome. That's porting. And what did I do here? That's waiting to run. Oh. Search API. Oh, wait. Oh, I tried to do. That's why I tried messing with Search API. And I must have had that installed. So it's going to be cranky at me. So, real quick, let's do ddev composer require Drupal search API. This will run with some like errors, but at least get this reinstalled. I won't commit it. We're having issues with our autocomplete in finding projects, and I was messing with search API as a way to provide like some boosting and better searching. That's the last thing I was working on. We do have a solution for it. It's not what I'm working on today though. Today is maintenance, so that way I can get back at a cadence of working on this every week again. Yeah, I want to get just things cleaned up so that we can work on fixes. And the idea to fix this issue with like type in group, we find all these modules that work with group but aren't group, is to sort by the usage on Drupal.org, which we found out we can do. All right. All right. Come on. I guess we're gonna have to do a config dump too, because this is a bit old. That's actually one thing I want to add to so we can't run CI on Drupal.org because we're a profile. I know GitLab CI is opening up, but one thing we need to do here is check if config changes are not tracked when profile is updated. Whenever we get a PR to update Drupal Simplytest, need the CI to check if there are config diffs. On install from what is exported, this checks if Drupal core updates or others modified config, but it was not tracked. That's something that we'll need to do too. Like if I were to do ddev drush, I'm not going to mess with that now. I can follow up with that after. All right, so let's do a refresh because that would have busted caches by doing the updates. And now we're done indexing, so we should be off to the races. I give a boot up process 15 minutes in and I haven't done, well, I updated my local environment. Woohoo for that. All right, so web services. Oh, wait, so Simplytest is here. Why is it listed as, why is it overriding admin config services? Let's fix that. That's just a bug that was there. Admin config Simplytest import. Well, that's, why is that? Admin config Simplytest. That should be admin config Simplytest. All right, so let's go ahead and Go back to configuration. Why is this running? Oh, shoot. I know why. So one thing that I do in my local development is I turn off all the caches, including Twig, and then I get like the live reload effect when doing the front end work. So let's rebuild links, routing and links cache. Let's do that. So I just need, search API overview. That's okay. It's not. So I added those modules back in. Already enabled, ddev drush cr. That's interesting. So when I rebuilt just those caches for the links and routing, it actually crashed. So let's see. Interesting that happened. We're only doing a partial config. All right, so we got now under config, we got Simplytest and the project's import. If I click project import, we've got the import form. Great. So that copied over fine. Let's get the rest of it copied over. To where am I? Web modules. No, that's right. It's the profile modules. All right, so projects import info.yaml we need to keep. The help file, this is moot. We don't need that file. Services, the project importer. Great. This is what we do need to copy over. So let's go ahead. Projects form. Let's just do import form. We're going to do a simple refactor drag over and change the namespace. Projects form. We'll do the same here. Drag it over. Project importer. Fix the namespace. Services YAML. Let's cut this out. And project services. Simplytest projects. There we go. Projects fetcher. So there. It even had a dependency on this module, so this just helps keep it. It's a decent cleanup. All right, so form. Now what we do need to fix is, let's delete this. I'm pretty sure we'll have to leave this here for deletion. It needs to be uninstalled from the site. So let's go to the routing. That should be Simplytest projects, title, input form. Oh, wait, access true. What? Well, that's not good. It's not exactly a security disclosure, but let's just turn that off or fix that. All right. So let's do again another. So Simplytest is our configuration form area. Let's flush all the caches. We should be able to get to that form without it breaking because it exists. Now, one thing I want to see is what version of Drupal core do we have? Composer show, Drupal. I wish there was a way to do like composer show and limit it to like the version because Drupal core's metadata is so huge. We're at 9.3. In one of these, they added the ability to tag a module's lifecycle, like a settings tray. No. What's a module that's getting ripped out? Field layout. Or field layout's experimental and lifecycle experimental. Cool. So let's lifecycle obsolete. Stable. Let's go for obsolete. Let's go ahead, copy that out. And we'll put it in here. So we can say that this is now obsolete. It's not needed. It's something that's going to be destroyed. So, okay. Service not found. Simplytest import importer. Dot importer. So let's go look for here. And nice enough, it actually suggested it. So let's go fix this to be, what is this in? Simplytest projects, services. That's now fixed. Import service. Again, something that's not. Yeah. And import importer. Great. That should be fine. So this form should load then. No. Wait. Why is this not coming back as a class? 1 second. Projects importer. Oh, because the use statement is still old. Great. So let's go refresh this. And distributions are quick, so let's go. Here, the type project distribution is not allowed. Well, that's new. All right, so let's go make a checkpoint here. Since this is so get. I checked out. Well, what did I do here? Okay, here we go. Get diff. Yeah. So get status. Get commit AV. Move import into projects. Let's just get to start here. Sorry, I've got fun sinus problems. All right, so that'll mark it as obsolete. We can't quite uninstall it yet, or actually we can. Let's do a ddev drush pm. Is it like pm uninstall? Simplytest import. Ddev. The drush commands had the bad services.yaml file. So what is this going on here? Project distribution is not allowed in the build batch. Line 109. Oh, so the command line got fixed, but the form wasn't updated. So what do we do here? Allow types. We prefix project underscore here. So let's go fix this form. Which means we should do a try catch here. This is in the submit form. Let's do a try catch exception. This, I don't know if messenger's actually injected, so we'll use the method at error exception get message. So let it build the batch, but at least error out. All right, so cache rebuild complete. Let's do the ddev pm uninstall that module, reload the form. Oh, import that YAML has lifecycle obsolete, but is missing lifecycle link entry. Goodness gracious. Let's do deprecated. All right, let's try that. But how come I have the feeling that that still won't be good enough? Let's fake it till you make it. And we can mark it as hidden true, so it can be removed on a follow-up. So one thing that's hard. Oh, come on. All right. Thank you, Drupal, for being validating. Simplytest commands, projects commands. Oh, this has the invalid use statements as well. That's why. All right, so that's fixed now. So if we do ddev drushcr, whack-a-mole. All right, so now we should be, actually, I probably didn't need to do a drushcr because it had the right items. Let's see. All right, cache rebuild. Let's do the uninstall that module. And try run. Oh, we'll wait to run this until that finishes just in case. And then we can go ahead and try to clean this up a little bit. So composer JSON, PHP 7.4. Great. Let's do distributions because that's quick. There's only like 12 projects to import. So that'll be a good, easy test. Importing 28 pages of distributions. All right, quick. In quotes. Now let's go see here. Tests. I know I have some tests. Source functional. Project autocomplete test. Traits the mocked. Oh, you should update this too. All right, so that's running the unit test. Project import form does the project importer. So we could run the project importer. We need that as a test. That's the word. So the project import service needs a test. Let's see. So project fetcher, fetch data. How does this work in the form? So we have the batch builder, this project build batch set, builder to array. So we have several functions that we need to test. All right, so we need to do the fetch data. We need to first test this batch that gets built because that's what this command uses as well. So this command, get release data, import project, it imports a runoff project via fetch project and update data. And also has import type. So let's go to our kernel tests. Or can we do, what does this need in its constructor? An HTTP client, the project fetcher, and a logger. Filter existing projects. That we can't, the build batch. All right, the batch builder. We could unit test this at least. So let's go unit. Let's create a new file. Project importer test. Namespace, it is Drupal test, simply test projects unit, final class, project importer test, extends, unit test case, we'll say that, unit test case. 4 distributions imported, where simply test projects. And updated. How can we project list builder? Build row. Where's the build query? Entity IDs. This get query. Execute load. This get entity IDs. Well then, you can't control the sort from here. Or sort get key by ID, but you can't choose if it's descending or not, so we're just going to hack it. Now I just want to see what got imported today. Confectionery. Ooh, that sounds cool. Better abstracts, living rooms. I guess the last time I did work on this was October 25th, so I guess that is a long time. I'm just curious, like confectionery, living rooms. These are probably sandboxes. And yeah, I know I'm getting off topic. Drupal 9 that bridges the part of WordPress and Drupal. Oh, so it's got the Vue admin theme in Gutenberg. In living rooms, inspired by Open Atrium. Oh, cool. That this would be interesting to follow along with. Open Atrium is really cool. Fortunately, I don't think it's going to get moved to Drupal 8, and I don't even know how. That thing is like a beast and a half of work. All right, back to the task at hand. So project importer test. Let's go import. We're going to test this build batch. So let's do group, Simplytest, and Simplytest projects. Covers default class, not living rooms, but we're going to cover this class. Let's bump this out a bit. I want to test the batch builder. So build batch. So let's do public function test build batch void covers build batch. All right. So oh wait, but then this says that this fetch data. Which means that we will have I don't want it to be stateful. 1 second. I've created this mocked HTTP client, but that just handles updates.drupal.org in a very messy way. Well, let's just try it. Let's just see what happens. So test build batch. Let's do a data provider. Yeah, let's do a data provider. So we'll do public function build batch types. Returns an array, return module. We want to pass in the type and then the expected batch. So let's go ahead and theme. See, this is doing overkill. I was going to do negative testing on the fact we throw an exception, but let's just avoid that. So let's do project importer equals new project importer. We need to pass in a Guzzle client. So let's do this trait. So this get mocked HTTP client. Simplytest project fetcher. Oh, look at that. That's lovely to mock with. Hey, hello. So I'm going to skip a unit test because I'm not dealing with all this magic. I'm going to go straight to a kernel test to make this a little bit easier. Not No, I don't really want to because it's going to go out and talk to the real world. Um, sorry, I'm thinking. Um, Test coverage is going to wait. I can do that another day. One way that I usually do this is I create like a middleware module that will intercept outgoing requests and then return fixtures. And I could do that, but I've only got like 25 more minutes that I want to work on this today. So let's just let this be. And we know we got this moved over. It's imported. We need to do a ddev drush config export, though, which is probably going to be huge because this updated from 9.2 to 9.3, so everything's going to be updated. Oh well. All right. Let's get our config commit on. So here we have that as marked as hidden. This fixes some namespacing. All right, so let's do hide Simplytest import fix references in Simply projects. So let's commit this. All right, now we've got the config sync, which is huge because 9.3 added a some updates and it rearranged the ordering of things to match the schema. So that's really big and loud and annoying, but we need to do it anyways. Just let's actually do this. All right, we'll commit just this one. Yeah, let's do uninstall Simplytest import. So let's commit that. Make another issue that says update config for 9.3. All right, so get status. All right, we still have all that config. Get status. No, get log. Right, we've got uninstall. Let's do get push. All right, so let's go look at this merge request and open a new issue. Update exported config for Drupal 9.3. Task. 9.3 sorted config output. We need to regenerate our config. All right, so I create an issue for that because I'm just going to then require 9.3 in Simplytest me. All right, let's look at this merge request. Cool. So, changes. I need to find out if we got this added to the GitLab CI. I know they're adding it to some projects. But all right, another time. Changes, so config that core.extension. Yep, that got rearranged and Simplytest import uninstalled. Groovy. This was cleared out because we don't need it. Services YAML, delete it. Project commands or import.info. Yep, deprecated. Boom. Test commands. Fix that. Oh, I guess I could just mark this as viewed. That would auto collapse it. Rename from import to projects. Yep, with some namespace changes and the fix there. The try catch. Great. Rename. Yep. Rename. Put that. Add the links. Routing. Services. Yep. Move from Simplytest import to Simplytest, and that again. All right, I'm happy with that. Let's move this to needs review. I'm not doing this for work. I'm doing it on my own. All right. So update exported config. Let's do create an issue fork and get status. I do want to purge these because we don't want to add it yet. RM get checked out. X test and check out the branch. Ow, get status. That get status. Commit AV. Update config exports. Push. So we'll push that to this merge request. And what I should do is bump this to Drupal core 9.3, which is what we are on right now. Yep. All right. Bump to Drupal core 9.3. So push that as a follow-up. So that needs review. This needs review. All right, so those two items are there. All right, so that helps clean things up. Now, one thing I wanted to try to do is get in our workflow Cypress running, which could be, let's see, the install, then PHP unit, which means we gotta like duplicate this all over again, kind of, because we want to compose it, copy the issue fork, set up MySQL, and run the install. We need to do a blend, actually. So what I need to do is more so copy this install, because I believe Cypress, we have it set up to do a end-to-end. It's been a while since I set this up. So plugins, support, commands, Simplytest install command. Hey, how long have I been coding? Professionally has been about 10 or 11 years, I think. And I've like picked up like PHP back in like middle school-ish, like to make basic sites. So like, let's say like 2000s. Yeah, like early 2000s is when I first started like messing around with coding. But it was never like I could get a job with it because then I'd have to move to Chicago and I didn't want to do that. But then I was able to find a local job. Yeah, so about 11 years professionally. Now I've been lucky where my first 2 years were at an agency and then I worked at a product-based company. And I think working at a product-based company versus like agency is a whole different ballgame. Just because you're allowed to actually spend time fixing things at a product, where agencies is like you got to get it done and then you got to move on to the next fire, which there's always fires everywhere. But I've been lucky enough to like also work in that gap, that bridge between product and agency, which has been really cool. I wish every developer would get the chance to work in like a product-based environment because I feel like that's a way to level folks up. Agencies, it's really hard to scale up junior developers. I feel not everybody, but it's just time is money. It can be hard to like find time to allocate growth. But not product teams aren't the best at that either sometimes. But yeah, so main question, about 10 years now. Man, that's weird. Yeah, no, 9. I wrote a blog post about it. I think it's been 9 years as a Yeah, it's 10. It's got to be 10. I don't know. It's been a while. Um, oh, hold on. Sorry. Now I got to think. My son turns 11, and I got my first developer job right when he turned 2. So it's going to be about 9 years. I take it back. Boot camp right now for full stack web development. Awesome. I hope that the boot camp goes well, and I hope they have a placement program afterwards. It's one that it's a slog. 10 years of doing this, and it still feels like I run into a brick wall every day of my life. Like, why doesn't this work? I should know how to fix this. This doesn't work. So just know if you're ever frustrated, we all get frustrated. Um, some streamers to watch to keep motivated. Yeah. Um, it's one that I do a lot of open source development. Like my entire career has been open source development with Drupal. I worked at an agency. They landed an e-commerce site, found Drupal commerce, and like I got really involved with the Drupal community. Like I didn't like the code necessarily, but I loved the community around it. Um, so that helped. But now like the live streams are just my way of actually doing open source work instead of being burned out by it. Just because you hit a point where you do a lot of open source contribution and like I enjoy it, but then you get irritated, and this is my way of like having fun with it, and also like showing tips and tricks hopefully for junior developers or people that are new to it, to say like, oh, this guy's been doing it for a while and he sucks at this or like I get tripped up easily on some things. I just want to help break that stigma, if I can. So yeah, as opposed to the work, lack of responses and waiting time. Yeah. So I currently work at Acquia as a principal software engineer, but I did a year off doing my own thing in my own business. And let me tell you, I am not good off of salary because I easily get myself blocked. And if I need to then wait for responses from clients, I was like, I did my work in 3 hours because I got blocked, but I still have to like bill for 5 hours of my day. I'm not good at managing myself that way and finding ways to like work the system, if you will. So that's why I had to stop doing my freelancer, build my business, and go back to a company. Yeah, 100% Drupal community is great. I would say that. And also, like, as you break into it, one, you don't have to do open source. Let's just say that you don't have to. But if you do, try to find ways to, like, just have fun with it. Like, hopefully you find a project that has a cool community. I know meetups have kind of gone away for a while because of COVID. They're virtual. I can't do virtual stuff. It just isn't the same for me. Like I get disconnected if I'm not actually by people. But as things are opening up, try to find meetups so you can do things with other developers. Yeah, work with a team and company, learn some tricks, and use that time to find ways that to like contribute to projects that you use. And that can help, again, that can help you like again network. The big thing is networking. You work with open source, there's a bigger community, there's the network factor. But again, that's not necessarily the path that everybody has to take or that is optimal for everybody, but that is what let me kind of get going. CI. Okay, so I did add this in here. All right, once I set this up and then I forgot about it. I know I based it off of something I did for a client's Laravel app that I used Cypress for. So let's see. Actually, before I do that, let's go to the web. Um, I hate small talk too, which is why I don't like networking, but that's why I like going to meetups because it wasn't necessarily small talk, it's like work talk. Um, like I've done a few of the mixers for like the Chamber of Commerce, right? Like Business After Five, they call them here in Kenosha. So every month, it's really cool though. Like, right, Business After Five, people get together. They like, they got like cocktails and hors d'oeuvres and whatnot. And it gets a chance to like talk to a few people, but it's like just not my vibe. Like I'm not one that's like, so how's business going for you? I'm not that person, but it's like, oh, what are you working on today? Oh, cool, you ran into that. Oh, we did something very similar and we hit this bug. And I like that kind of serendipity and networking, not forced networking, like business network. Oh, thanks for joining. Um, yeah, I have a few baseball related projects I like to build. The might learn. Actually, that's one thing too. Like as you're learning, find something that scratches your own itch. That's so like one trick that I had is every year I try to, well, 3 kids, it's hard now, but I would set aside New Year's Day as like my day to learn something and find something relevant to me. So let me just make this commit and I'll show one way that I did that. All right, so my composer JSON's there. The lock file probably needs to be regenerated. So let's do that. Default services. This was updated from the boilerplate. Same with default settings. Unversion file. VS Code. All right. So while I let ddev composer update run. All right, ddev composer remove. Do that. Scratching your own itch. So one project that I run and is dated is Contrib Kanban. And what it actually does is take the Drupal.org issues, or it takes the Drupal.org API and creates like a Kanban off of issues, because Drupal.org maintains its own custom issue tracker, which was great for back in the day. But I wanted to learn like a mean stack. What was it? Like Mongo, Express, Angular, and Node. So I used parse.com and some other kind of host. I can't remember what. And I built Contrib Kanban. But then, sorry, parse shut down. So I did some other things. And eventually I was like, oh, so now this is a Drupal 8 decoupled site. So like I learned how to do JavaScript this way by like, I had to manage products that needed to track issues on Drupal.org. So I built a tool to make my work life easier. Or like when I was a kid coding, it's because I gamed and we had our clans and we needed our clan websites. And like I learned C# to do like a desktop chat messaging thing that integrated with our website. You know, just find ways to scratch your own itch and play around with it, and know it doesn't have to be perfect as long as you can use it. That's a good way to go for it. Like baseball, like my son plays baseball, so it'd be neat to like build the software they use to like track everything is like, it's so bad. That'd be neat, like to come up with a way to like track it on my own. um yeah, there's cool things. Like if you just are like, hey, I could write code for this, write the code. I feel like I'm at this horrible point where I've become like, I've gotten so high up that I get caught up in all the details. Like I can't just write something anymore. I'm like, oh, well, I need to make a plan for this and go that way. It's really hard to just dive in and go for it. Shoot, and you said BRB. Just basically, I just kept talking. Sorry, I didn't know you had stepped away. But yeah, just find ways to scratch your own itch, and that will help you. Like that'll give you motivation to learn code. Um, yeah, Mongo. So like I built this project so I could learn Mongo and JavaScript like Angular, and then I rewrote it in React so I could learn React. Um, there's ddev. So ddev is the local development tool I use that runs Docker, and it kind of was like the thing that I had already wrote in PHP. And I was like, well, I don't want to maintain my own local environment tooling, so I found ddev, what's written in Golang. So then I took a few days to learn Golang to contribute to it to make it work like I wanted to. Again, it's like I always wanted to learn Golang. I didn't know, right? Like you want to learn something, but you need to make it relevant. Here's my way to make it relevant instead of sitting there and being like, well, this is stupid. I'm not learning the language. I'm not building anything. So just find something like a problem that you can solve that makes that you would actually use, and then try to solve it, or at least like dive into it. And if you don't solve it, then at least you learn. Learn new types, mostly syntax. Yes, it's mostly syntax, but like there's, yeah, it's mostly syntax, but there's extra quirks to it. So for example, like PHP is not a compiled language. It's a scripting language, just like Python is, and technically Ruby and JavaScript. Well, JavaScript's a whole other thing. Um, but Golang's compiled, so you actually have to compile it. And Golang has some very interesting things about it. There's no objects and a lot of things you might commonly see in languages, like ternary operators, so like food question mark colon does something. They don't let that exist. It has a different design pattern. So that's That's one thing to consider too, is there might also be not it's not just the syntax, there might also be just the ways it works differently. Scaffolded files. So let's commit that for the main website. Oh, nice. So yeah, like right there, like oh, we got a T-ball team, need to send emails or like post scores, and then you can do that and find a way to make it run. Let's see. Let's push that one. Yeah, definitely learn the very basics of HTML and CSS. And when going to JavaScript, like you don't need to learn React, Vue, Svelte, any of that. Like you can just learn vanilla JavaScript. I can get pretty far with it. You're probably so here's the thing is you probably won't be learning it, you're just doing it. But the thing is, this is my job most of the time. Is I have experience in getting into stupid situations where things are broken. And I'm able to eventually run on similar situations and hopefully tap from my memory or go into, like, why does this happen? Go to the browser, make a search, and try to get back to that previous time when I broke something or when something was broken. And it's also like I can go to the store and then my wife will say, hey, pick up this extra thing, and I'll forget it. But like, this happens like every week. Someone's like, Matt, remember that one time, this one thing? I'm like, yep, I remember that line of code from 4 years ago. Or actually even sometime like 8 years ago. Why? I don't know why. That's just like how my brain works. But the idea, I think, is you don't necessarily need to learn it off the bat, right? You don't need to memorize it, but just so that way you start to recognize patterns or remember things. So that way it's like, I need to do this. It's like, oh, I kind of remember. I'm going to go look it up. Remember, you don't need to memorize. You don't need to know how to do everything off the top of your head, but you got to just know how to go back and look. Like I know that there's always like the ongoing stuff about like engineering interviews and like do a binary search. I don't even know what that means. Or like explain like solid design principles. Um it's just, can you solve problems? Like I don't care if you don't know how to do HTML, but do you know how to solve problems? Great. You can learn how to you can write languages. Or you can program if you can solve problems. Now, to the level you could be, maybe it's more like technical project manager. Like there's also growth that way. If like the coding part, like you understand it but can't do it, but you have good organization skills, that's where that can open you to like a technical account manager or project manager. Somebody who has the technical prowess but isn't necessarily like doing the code but helps steer the ship in those ways. Yeah. So, and that's just there. Like if you can read code, if you can Google it, and you can eventually get there and solve the real world problems. The coding will come. It just takes time and frustration. Um, so just know if you're ever frustrated, it's like it's not working. I do that every time. I tried working on a project that used Flutter for mobile, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. Why is this hard? Because I wasn't using Firebase, and it works great with Firebase. It's the way the world works. All right, I was gonna do a thing. I updated the website repo. We got these two issues. Let's see, those two issues can't launch. Yeah, we know there's those problems. Let's see. Oh, that's it. I was gonna work on try to get this going. Because maybe merge all these branches just to make it look messy. Oh, they told you to just merge stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, that's just to make sure it looks messy. Oh, like you did work, or that you're like doing incremental pieces. Now, even if it's gone, did you didn't delete your branches by chance, did you? Because if you didn't delete your branches, you should be able to do recovery. Oh, less messy, cleaning it up. First off, I don't like that. It's like a messy commit history is history and shows you thought process. Now, there's different lines of thought on that. Like your you could say like your canonical branch should be clean. So that means you do a pull request and squash merge. So keep all of your messiness like in a branch and at the pull request, but then do a squash merge so it's a single commit in that main branch. But it gives you a history and it tells you what you did wrong or right. Branch Cypress job. Oh shoot, it is 501. I need to cut it so that way I can um, do a few things that I have to do. But real quick, all right, so we get there. I want to get this baseline started. So that's the install, and then PHP units. Install dependencies, run the built-in web server. Where's Chrome driver at? Hold on. Oh, it's under services. There we go. So let's go services Chrome driver. Oh, it is there. Okay. And do the built-in web server under, do that after here. So cool. Yeah. So all right, I'm gonna commit this real quick, and as I commit it, let's do git status, git add .github. So closing thought, add initial Cypress workflow. I stream on Wednesdays. That's it. So Wednesdays I do 2-hour streams at 2 p.m. Central to work on PHP Stand, Drupal, and like a lot of the upgrade tooling and static analysis tools for Drupal. And Cypress workflow. And I'm trying to come back on Mondays at about either 4 Central or 3 Central, depending on how my Monday went, to work on the Simplytest Me, which is used for like a bunch of Drupalists to test like code without launching it locally. So cool. All right. Like I said, I gotta run. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I do upload these to my YouTube afterward for recordings, and I know on Twitch they live for like 2 or 3 days or something like that. But thanks for hanging out. I love the chat, and I'll be back later. Bye.